roll call.
Ed Marcus.
Gary Shue.
Randy Sneed.
Erica Perkins.
Eric Jones.
Lisa Mulaney.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meetings from 1/4/23, regular session.
Lisa, did you get my email
Make a motion to send you an email.
this afternoon?
No.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from 1/4/23.
Is there a problem with the minutes?
Nothing big, it just, there was two things. There was no mention in there about the park board appointment,
Oh,
and then the other thing was in the minutes from the last meeting of 22. It should, I thought, was it a 3-2 vote because 2 of us abstained?
yeah.
It says 3-1.
Oh,
That's the only thing, nothing as far as content, other than those two things.
okay. So
Sorry, Eric.
fix this park board. No, I did not get your email, sorry. And the 3-2 vote on the,
Yes, those are the two proposed changes I would have.
That's fine.
What was the one about the park board here?
There was no mention in there about the open park board appointment, and then we moved to advertise to fill that.
Yeah, I just see, all it says was you was liaison to the park board. But
Yes.
Yeah.
so do you want me to put the one about the plan commission in there too? I just thought that was a discussion, so we were,
No, because I think there was a motion to advertise that position,
oh,
I believed.
all right, I'll look back.
Did you second that?
No, but I will. I'll second that.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from 1/4/23 regular session. Any further comment? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Citizens input. Okay, no citizens input. Cybersecurity report, Bob?
Okay,
You should have it in the document.
did you guys get your reports and actually read them? Or was it too much for you?
There's too many Marcuses in this room.
One too many.
You can leave.
Superintendent.
So basically the report was, we compiled it for the last year about everything that, basically the major highlights. If I actually listed every single item that we touch upon during the year, you'd probably be surprised and overwhelmed. So I basically touched upon some of the bigger points of that. There was some questions about what exactly is it that we do, and I think it's probably my fault that I don't convey that as much to the council as what that we should. So moving forward, I'm actually going to do what I do with some of the other municipalities and actually just give you a monthly report, line by line item, and then you can do with it what you want. Again, it might be overkill with that, but I'm thinking that it's probably going to be good just to relay the information. For those of you that did look over that report, is there any questions? First of all, I can go into detail on some of it if you wanted to.
Well, unfortunately, some of us do not have that.
It's there, it's called the year-end review, 22 year-end review.
Thanks.
I can hit a couple of the major points on that if you want,
Please do.
Randy. So, I would say that probably the first thing on there, if I actually look back at the document, is that the multi-factor, that was actually a big implementation for actually just getting all of the town employees on multi-factor. There's still a couple of outliers depending on when occasionally we have to turn it off and then turn it back on for certain people. And there have been a few little glitches from Microsoft in turning that on. So we work through those as we get through it. But basically, multi-factor authentication, which is kind of the big thing anymore, is implemented for the town. We also do a lot of monitoring as far as the emails go. So we're usually looking for different types of what we call a security event, looking for any type of problems. We actually do monitor IP addresses. It's mostly telephones, handphone, cell phone or something, where we actually do look and see, okay, is this a legitimate IP address associated with a person's an account? Usually gives us clues if someone's been compromised. For the town of Argos, all of our security events have been nothing. It's just usually police officers actually. Yeah, I can tell when somebody has, on the network, has changed an IP address or something like that, which happens through the phone carriers. Going a little bit further, actually a big thing, I know Jamie and I have had quite a few of these discussions with RTC concerning segmenting off the town's network. I don't know if you're aware or not, but when RTC first came into town, when they built the network that the town uses, it's called a wide area network, that it's caused some problems for RTC. It's caused some problems for us as well. So we've been working through that with RTC to actually break that network down to the various components. Basically, every building is going to be its own little network that's broken apart from everything else. It helps prevent spreading of potential problems. Inside of each one of those networks, we've begun doing what's called LAN segmentation, which is actually breaking apart the networks in each one of the buildings so that we can isolate traffic. I know that in the last security class that I went to, the biggest problem has actually been with printers and copiers. So we've been working on actually breaking those components down if we can. If it's a small network, we don't really worry about it too much, but over at the police department, we've done it. The printers and stuff like that over there are segmented off on their own network. It has not happened here in the town clerk's office yet. So there's still work to be done there. As far as network intrusions go, we have blocked a number of network intrusions. A network intrusion is an incident where is usually an external attack on the town's network. The appliances that we have in place can actually monitor and block those intrusions, and we are actively monitoring that. So usually it's an external type of attack or a lot of false positives. We do get false positives because the software is actually looking for a problem on the network. It detects something and it automatically blocks it, and then we review that. And then sometimes we have to unblock things because we might have accidentally blocked a computer or something. It happens. But it's for the defense of the town's network. That kind of goes into another, as far as the threat detection and stuff like that. Earlier last year with the war in Ukraine that started up, we were alerted by the federal government as well as state agencies to be on the lookout for certain types of attacks against municipalities and utilities. We did block an attack from a Russian IP address. That happened midway through the year. So that did actually happen. And we are by default now blocking Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, China, North Korea, and I was just telling Corey earlier that we're starting to block Panama as well. So some bad actors down in Panama. So yeah, that's kind of the highlights for, and of course we've been doing a lot of other stuff, and there's still some work to be done, but as far as in my opinion, the position that the town of Argos is actually in is actually a very good position as far as cybersecurity goes. We have, we're monitoring the network activity, we're monitoring activity on computers, we're looking for any type of problems. And of course, the threat landscape constantly evolves. We don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, but the best thing that we can do is actually continue to defend and monitor whatever that we've got to monitor. So I know sometimes me making a phone call, Candy doesn't, she doesn't like it when I ask for her. But it's honestly not too bad compared to some of the stuff I've seen.
Do you guys have any type of system or anything in place that, for instance, in our company network, if we, in our email, if we get something that we think may be like a malicious site or whatever, that's a phishing attack or whatever, we have like a spam review button. I mean, do you guys have anything like that? If an employee comes across something they think may be spam,
there's
I call you all the time.
yeah, there's a couple people I talk to all the time. But there are messages that automatically pop up at the top in Outlook to alert you that, hey, this may not be legitimate or something like that. As far as the spam review goes, that's me.
Yeah.
So what usually happens is that somebody will get a hold of me and say, hey, something looks suspicious, because something can get through, it can get through the spam filters. And then what I do is I do a manual review of it, and some of them are actually pretty darn good. So that's usually when we come back in, and we actually do, I had talked to Jamie about it, I think last week even, that we actually do need to do some more training sessions with everybody and try to get everybody in. And we've had a few.
Mm-hmm.
I think I usually scare the heck out of everybody by doing it. But yeah, the manual review of it, I actually do like to actually manually review it so that I can actually see what's going on. The one that Jamie got, a couple of them, was it last week?
Yeah, last week or the week before.
Last week before, something like that. They were actually really good, and that also helps even us in the office. I know at lunch, I'm like, hey, everybody come in here and look at this email. Because it was really good. I found one error where they had made one mistake. Trying to get Jamie's email address, or password for his email address. And those are the ones that are kind of scary. But I think I've got everybody terrified now, don't I? Where
Yes.
you don't want to click on anything or open anything or
Or look at anything.
look at it, don't do anything.
Anytime we see a suspicious email, the first thing, instead of opening that email, the first, he's kind of come in and hammered us. If you even think it's suspicious, you just forward it to me. If it's not suspicious, I will let you know. But,
And my spam filters are a little bit more stringent, so sometimes I don't get them, so I have to go and retrieve them.
yeah. But he normally lets us know, hey, yes, that was a definite spam, don't answer that. But he's got us so scared. The AIM Trust sent me some information on a confidential file, because there are new medical insurance, and they said it was confidential, and they wanted me to enter my password that I log into Microsoft with, and I said absolutely not. So I emailed the girl that sent the letter, or sent the email, and I'm like, is this email legit? And she responded with another confidential, you know, and I'm like, okay, so I had to have, actually Lori was the one that told me that it was real and you have to use this code to get into it, you know, but he's got us so,
I
so
started seeing
paranoid that
that
we won't
from other
open
municipal
anything.
customers too.
Yeah, I read in your report where you're in the process of implementing like some sort of, like your own phishing, examples or whatever, tests.
And we have done some phishing tests in the past, which the town employees have actually done fairly well on.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Not the
Sometimes you
Kentucky
don't
Fried Chicken
fail.
coupon.
If you don't fail, you've done good.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Any idea on the segmentation, when you think you might have that completed or close to?
Some of the segmentation is for the WAN segmentation. That's taking a little bit longer than what I would anticipate, because we do have to work with RTC on that, as they try to kind of decipher their own network. I know we've had a number of virtual and in-person meetings with them discussing as we begin to break all that apart. And it is happening. It's just that it can be a little tricky sometimes dealing with it. The internal segmentation has gone a little bit better, I would say. We did change a few things. We changed initially, kind of do it in phases here in the clerk's office. We made a few changes with the network internally here, and then we're going to continue to have to make a few other little changes. Just as we continue to learn what is going to work and what is not going to work for each separate type of building. So
this year, Bob and I have been talking, it kind of started last year, with some of the other municipalities that he has taken on. He's given a bulk pricing, like kind of an annual pricing, right?
yeah, it's basically we've been doing flat rate.
It's a contract. So basically when we call, he answers. He does that now, but technically he's supposed to charge us for the time that he's on the clock. Oh, stop it, you would do the same thing. But anyway, he's going to get us a bulk price, just to see, instead of paying,
Something that's-
you always see the monthly subscription
already
fees
too much
and
to
stuff, so. Well, I mean, it's coming, so we need, if we hired another company, they would do the same thing. They would have an annual fee that you would pay to them, and then they would give you so much time, you know, so I think it's.
What we've been doing, just to minimize, because I don't like to do billing, is that it's a flat rate.
Yeah.
And there's an unlimited number of hours associated with that. It's like whatever it takes for us to do the job, then that's what we do. And that's kind of what I have, not for you personally, but it's kind of where we're going with stuff. I just hate billing, so.
And I think it's a good idea, instead of being charged for every time.
Yeah.
You know, I think that
Just
a
a-
flat fee, we just know what that fee is, so we don't have to, you know, say, oh, we went way over on IT this year. The other thing is that our server, for those of you who weren't around in 2016, we got our server in like 2016-17, and we've been talking about getting a new server, because they only last so long.
Right.
So,
as far as
server,
the hardware is concerned with the town, we've been on a kind of a replacement. We've been periodically replacing computers and stuff like that as we've been going along, because you don't want to have it all at once. That causes two problems. Number one, you get a huge bill, which you don't like, I know that. And number two is that hardware failures tend to group up if you have all the hardware that's all the same. So the idea is to kind of spread that out over time, and I think we've been pretty good with that. I've got another computer for you, actually, we just put together yesterday, so I've got another one for you that we'll be replacing.
So our server though, we were talking about having the new server, having all the data transferred to the new server and kind of using the old server as a backup until it
Right.
does fail.
Right now, there are 2 servers here at the town.
Yeah.
One of them is temporarily located in the old police department, in the old squad room, until we can actually find a good place, a good home for that. So it is backing, as far as backups are concerned, I don't know if can't remember if I talked about this in that report or not. What we're doing for backups is that we have the primary server, which actually has multiple drives in it, and then you have a backup server with multiple drives in it that's backing up the primary server. Then we actually do backup to the cloud using one of our services, one of our servers that we actually use to do backups to that as well. So it probably, I will say that one of the things with backups is that they're telling us is that you need more, just more and more backups. So that is probably something that will have to be discussed later on as we figure out how we're going to, how many backups do we need, what are we going to need to do to make everything secure. If a ransomware attack were to occur, those backups are what's going to save you.
So we had, in 2016 when I came in, Bob was just kind of backing our files up on his computer himself. So we bought another server, or we bought a new server. We were still using the old server, so that other server is even older than 2016. We bought a new server. We also did Carbonite that year, which is a bare metal backup, kind of a cloud service. They raised their prices significantly. So Bob found us another cloud service that we could still back up to that. But just don't be surprised if I get a quote for a server this year just to see how much they're going for, and because we cannot be down. So if we got attacked or if we just lost our server, we have to be able to still function. So it's just a thought in your head. I'm not saying that it'll be this year, but we'll look at it.
It probably should be this year.
Yeah.
That server's going to eventually show its age.
Yeah.
Which is probably pretty soon, I'm guessing.
So the one thing that I always reiterate to Bob is that I want to make sure that our data is backed up to, I think it backs up at what, 2 a.m. or something?
Yeah, it's way early in the morning.
And so we could recreate anything that happened during the day, but we really need it to have that, you know.
And for one thing the other big thing that we're facing also is insurance questions.
Yes.
Lisa has not received a lot of questions from the insurance companies just yet. However, starting last year, we were warned that it was coming, and last February we saw our first big insurance questionnaire. And it was actually really surprising the number of questions that they had on there for us. Very, very specific questions that we had never been asked before. So there's going to be other changes based on insurance. There have been other government agencies in the area who have lost cybersecurity insurance because they could not pass the questionnaire. They wouldn't renew it. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to get ahead of it and make sure that we have all the checks, all the boxes checked on that questionnaire. And so we've been trying to stay ahead of it. We wouldn't be able to just come in one day and say, okay, we're going to do all this and it's to check all these boxes. It can't be done. So.
And that's one of the things that our training too, that it kind of, at our clerks training, they're really honing in on cybersecurity insurance, because if you have a data leak, it is very expensive. Now, we on the town side, we do not keep any driver's licenses or social security numbers in our systems. So if they're going to get something, it might be your name and address, you know.
Minimum.
Yeah, we don't keep payments in there. If you do make a payment online, that's kept with Invoice Cloud, that's their problem, you know. So we try to minimize how much, or what
Your
type of
exposure.
data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. Of course, if anybody has any questions that they want to, you know, something specific later on, you can always call me or email me or whatever. I'll answer your questions. Or text me.
Anything else? Thank you, Bob, really
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Really appreciate all you're doing, keeping us up to date and safe on this stuff. Nothing else, we'll move on to old business, attorney report.
Couple things, guys. First thing I'm gonna maybe tackle here are some board appointments. I know that it's been brought to my attention that George Knoll is interested in being on the plan commission. He was what we would call an official member, meaning that he was in town government. He's no longer in town government, but he is still willing to serve on the plan commission, so he is interested in serving as what we call a citizen member. He fits the qualifications in that he resides within the corporate boundaries. We don't have more than 2 members of the same political party if we were to appoint George, and that is an appointment by the president of the town board if you're so inclined.
Appointing.
Okay? I also understand that Gary Shue is interested in being on the plan commission. Did you know that, Gary?
As of the last meeting, I was.
Okay. Gary would basically step into a position of an official member on the plan commission, and right now there's only Lisa that is the other official member, as I understand it.
Yes, if anybody else would like to serve on the planning commission, please let me know, because I need somebody from the government.
And the good thing is we do have a quorum with the folks that we are appointing, even if Gary would decline, but we do have a quorum to be able to conduct business and get things pushed through. But as it pertains to that official member, that is appointment of the Board of Trustees rather than the president of the town council. So that will take a board vote, and obviously, Gary, you're being considered, so it's probably appropriate you to abstain.
Yeah, I understand.
We have to have a motion.
I'll have to think about this.
Yeah.
Got your reasons.
I would move that Gary be appointed to the plan commission.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Gary Shue to the plan commission. Any further comment?
I'm government.
If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just said that.
I understand.
You abstain, so still we have.
Okay. The other one was the park board appointment, which I know that has been advertised, and I also see it's also on the agenda, but I think we're waiting for some interest there to see what shows up with that, but whoever does, we're ready to tackle that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I only put it on the agenda so that it could be mentioned in the meeting that we were still taking letters.
I have talked to him, but I haven't talked to him here recently.
He's sitting in the email today.
I knew he was interested, yes.
The other thing I got 2 more things, but the first I'm gonna tackle is this school resource officer agreement. I think, I've talked with Corey a little bit before tonight, we've had some drafts of this thing going back and forth, and I think we're in good shape now at this point. Be able to say, council, so long as you're okay with what you've seen in the past, and honestly, it's not changed. I think it was late December. Yeah, I think it was mid to late December that you guys probably had the latest update or version of this. But so long as you're okay with that, I think it's time to present it to the school. And,
Already done.
okay.
I say we met
Yeah, we've already
early
met.
January. Randy, myself, Mark,
Yeah.
Corey, and the superintendent on that.
Okay.
So after we did our final changes the last time, they went through it and everything was done.
Did they say?
Actually, the school board had their meeting and they approved that version, so if you're good, I've got a signed copy from them that will approve.
So then it's really up to the council here, if we're willing
It was
to,
on my list, I just probably forgot to tell you that.
yeah.
I mean, we've resolved any issues we have. I would move that we approve the SRO agreement as presented and the school board approved.
I'll second
Okay, we do have a motion and a second to approve the SRO agreement as was presented to the school board. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll take a quick look real quick. That is set up for basically, actually for the police department, so that'll be Corey gets to sign document. But he's been authorized to do that by the acceptance of that. So once you have the school's signed version, let's get that to
And I'll send it to you.
a fully signed copy would be appreciated. Thank you. Guys, the last thing I had was the cemetery mowing contract. It's really the specifications that we're gonna let out to bid. We kinda need to get on this because this whole contract starts, believe it or not, April 15, which is gonna get here sooner than you'd think. And we have to publish this thing twice, a week apart. The way I've got it kind of structured is that we need to have bids submitted by February 13th. We would then take a look at those bids on the meeting we have on February the 15th, and then those bids could be awarded at the next meeting on March 1st. I'll be honest, guys, the version I sent to you talks about cemetery board. You're gonna see that time and time again. Well, Lisa pointed out that we haven't had a cemetery board for a few years now, so that was my mistake. Our old contract actually said cemetery board. So I've changed all that, and I did not forward that to you again. I just did that, I think, a day or two ago.
Right.
But it basically indicates now that it's the town council that makes that determination, who gets awarded that bid. So long as you're good with the, I'm gonna call it the substance of those specifications, we can go ahead and get this thing published so that we can start getting some bids in here and then make some decisions come our next meeting, not the next meeting, but it'll be the two meetings down around February 15th.
I move we proceed with the bid.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to proceed with the bid for the cemetery mowing. Any further comment? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it.
Okay, we'll get it done. That's all I have.
Derek, I have a question.
Yep.
Where are we on the, is it 212 West Walnut? Is it right here next to the old hardware?
Right here next, it's the one that you're not.
Can you give me the name of the owner?
Kinsey.
Okay, that's the one that we farmed out
So-
to Carmen Post. And I can give you a little update on that whole thing.
I can too, maybe.
Okay. You go first.
So it's been a couple weeks ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer. I got an email from Carmen Post saying, wanted to know what the status of the property looked like, that they were supposed to be cleaning it up. And I mean, honestly, if you look at it, it looks worse than it did, I think, than when we first started. So I took pictures and told her it looked worse and sent her that back.
Okay. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page here, that's the one I had a conflict on, and that's why we had to kind of ship this one out. She was an attorney here in Marshall County that's kind of newer. She sent an email, I'm gonna say about a couple of weeks ago, says, I'm going out on my own, I'm really not gonna be interested in doing any more of these. She did say that she would finish up what she had, which I think are only two.
Just this one and the other one.
And
Yeah.
I can't, again, unless somebody gives me a name, I can't really piece it all
Storm
together.
Kinsey's the name of the.
I know that one, and I know that one, and I know what that's about. That was the vehicles, and maybe there's even worse now, but,
It's worse now.
Building some sort of compound over there.
yes.
I've been walking downtown here quite a bit.
So, at the end of the day, if that's not moving forward, we are gonna have to find somebody else that's gonna be able to push that through. I can help with that, and I can reach out and see if somebody, there's other, municipal attorneys, that, do Bremen, Urban, you name it, that might be able to help out with this.
I mean, I think that if we're at the point where, if she doesn't want to do it, if she just tells us she doesn't want to do it, we just move on. I mean, we've been dealing with this for how long? I think
Yeah.
it's time we just get it done and move forward. I mean, just trying to figure out who wants to do it. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean,
Right.
and like Corey said, I have to agree, it's gotten worse.
It has.
I mean, it's, again, they're building, they had some makeshift wooden, I don't know what you wanna say around there, like they're, like, again, like it was a compound of some sort.
Yeah,
I don't
some
know.
type of stockade or a
Yeah, I don't
fence.
know.
And there's just trash everywhere. It's filth, it really is.
I feel like she has sent a couple emails, it's basically the same thing, you know, how it's supposed to be done, you know, what's the status, and like, it's still the same or it looks worse, so. That's not the first one.
Okay.
I guess I would ask that Derek reach out to her and see what her intention is. If she wants to do it, fine. If not, then.
I'll tell you exactly what she said, was that she didn't want anything new, but she did say that she would finish up what she had. So,
we can appoint the file.
it might take kind of a poke in the butt to get that one through, because I'll be honest with you guys, if Culver reached out to me and said, hey, I got one, I would do it as a favor maybe, but I just, these are kind of, you know, just kind of that nitpicky, and they're kind of, can be time consuming and.
Been there, done that.
Right. So it's, I'm not gonna say it's like an real big attractive thing that somebody's gonna wanna jump on.
No.
And we were lucky to find somebody, it may be tough to find somebody else to help us out, and I may have to kind of get in that role of, I'll help you if you can help me, but I've never been contacted and been doing this for a long time.
Sure.
But I think, I appreciate that something needs to happen, and I think maybe it's appropriate to reach out to her and just say, look, if you can, we need to move this forward. If you're not able to help us out anymore, then just please let us know so we can look elsewhere. But she did indicate that, I know I was looking at you, but I'm not necessarily saying, but it sounds like you've had some communication with her.
Email.
Okay. And I would just say, look, we need to move it forward, and if that can't happen, then let us know, please, and we'll see what we can do on our end.
Thank you.
Lisa, you say there's another property too, or did I misunderstand?
Well, and again, I ran into her and talked to her a little bit after that email was sent, and she made it sound like, and again, I'm kind of out of the loop, but that one of them was taken care of, but the other one was still kind of ongoing.
Maybe we could write her down.
Then it wouldn't be that one, because that one's still.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so
both of them still need. Okay.
don't let it fall through the cracks, guys. If there's still issues and we're not getting responses, let me know. I'll see what I can do to push it through.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And is that it then with your report?
Yep. I've done before, it asked me.
I put him on overtime.
Okay.
Motion to accept the attorney report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept attorney report. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any other old business needs brought up? No?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Could we get some sort of list together as far as old business that we need to clear up? Like, an example would be the parking situation. When we had the break room come in, we said we'd table that and get back to it. I'm looking for those things that we could bring back around to start working on.
Lisa has the notes on this stuff.
So, we've been talking about having some workshops before meetings and stuff like that. That one would probably need to be a public workshop because when you're dealing with parking, ask anybody that was on a board during the parking fiascos.
I think
You know, so.
what you're wanting is,
Yeah.
can we log these somewhere?
Yeah, can we get
Because
getting this?
we
and
get
then start-
8 meetings down the road and we don't remember, so it gets
Exactly.
skipped over and.
Yeah.
Something to start compiling this so we
Taxes,
can
50%
start
of the
working on
motion,
this.
Yeah, I
change
get it.
parking, everybody's
He's working on
stuff.
the TikTok.
I gotta
Better done that.
We'll find
So we had meetings about chickens, Derek's still working on that, so I mean, the parking situation, yes. And that was gonna be kind of a mini discussion in our workshop tonight, but Sean got hurt, and so I think we should have, you know,
And
I
Derek-
understand that we can't hold it for one person, but, you know, it,
And just so you know, parking in this town, I will tell you, is like a 4-letter word.
mm,
It is. And I'm not kidding, I told Cory, I just.
It's absolutely true.
You can raise property taxes 50%, you won't get anybody to show up, you try to change parking, everybody's here.
Yeah.
Good.
Take your
Just
kids
get
away,
input.
give them a ticket.
Oh, that's not
Did you get that, James?
So-
Ed Marcus
I
said
said
we're
it
gonna make
on-
all
No.
streets no parking.
yeah, as soon as,
Negative.
because I just think it should be the whole, I mean, not me personally, but other people think it should be the whole council, not just 4. We're going to set up a workshop to go over what we were gonna go over when he's a little bit
Well,
better.
since I've only been here for half the year, I mean, I just used the parking as an example.
No,
I'm talking, I'm sure there's some other things out there that came before me, and I know, I can't remember exactly what else there was, but it seems like we tabled something else a few months back too, and I don't remember us coming, see, I don't even remember it because we don't have a way to remember it.
Yeah.
In Walkerton, and I say this because I've sat in a few of the meetings with my dad was an attorney there for several years. They had an agenda item called Projects in Progress. And it was just like an ongoing list, just like what you're talking about, that if there was like an issue, like I've got something on my plate called the chicken ordinance that I need to address and kind of tackle. I haven't done it yet. And so something like that would stay on that list until it got done. And it's basically, maybe not a bad idea, it's a good way to remind us to
For the
say,
agenda,
And just what I did on the park board of doing the agenda every month, I mean, our old business was basically carryovers from the last agenda that were not dealt with. So, I mean, there may have been something on there that's on there for a year, but it was still old business.
Yeah,
So,
it
I
never
mean,
left
just-
until it was done.
It never went off until it was completed.
I guess, in my, I'm not defending it, but,
No, no,
you know,
and I'm not
for-
criticizing.
when I got on, it was kind of, the agenda is set by the president, it's, you know, totally set by the president, but, when I got on, they were like, if we're not gonna address it at the meeting, we don't want it on the agenda, so, that's kind of the, gist, but we can start a section, I mean, I normally use these for my notes, but we could maybe do it on the back, you know, a priority list or something that we could see, you know, and that way it does get done. But I do try to bring them up from time to time. I think I told you guys that we were gonna go over the contracts and the stuff. But when we do have that workshop, we absolutely need to invite the businesses downtown if they wanna come. If they don't wanna come, then that's up to them.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
New business. Before Chuck brings about this letter, I want to tell you, a lot of you don't know about this. So I came down here a week ago, and Chuck and Mark were in here, and I came in and talked to them, and I said, these are some things I'd like to see, and you tell me what we can do and what we can't do. But the big thing I was trying to clear up was to get rid of these ground level apartments that we have that they're against our zoning. Yeah, against our zoning. And I was also, had been told at one time that one of these buildings in town has a basement and there's a family with children living in the basement. I don't know if it's true, I don't know if it's not true, it came from a fairly reliable person. So I asked Chuck and Mark, I said, well, why can't we get Chuck and Mark Dean, our fire chief, to go, Chuck write a letter to the building owners and tell them that we want to do an inspection of the building and give them a certain, well, he can go ahead and explain it to you a little better than what I'm doing. So anyhow, this is what this is all about. So go ahead, Chuck, and continue from here.
Okay, what I've been working on is a rental inspection, which would include not only what's downtown, but anything else that's in our municipality that's a rental. I've just about got that completed. I'll have the first draft to you early next week. So that's kind of long-term plan. In doing that, I'm using Whitestown as kind of our base. That's what Mark came up with. Independently, we both came up with that same thing. So they have an inspection fee, a registration fee, and an inspection fee. So every year, they pay a fee. Every rental owner pays a fee to the town. And it's not a large fee, $25 or less, whatever it is. And then they have another fee that's an inspection. All the rentals are inspected. They do theirs every 5 years. We were talking about it. I'm thinking 5 years is a long stretch. A lot of things go on in 5 years. I'm looking at it 3 year.
At least, theirs is at least every 5 years. Now, if it would vacate before we would transfer utilities, that's where the inspection comes in.
Yeah. So if you sell your property, your rental property, you come to have utilities turned over, then we would have an inspection on that property before they turn over the utilities.
Or your tenant vacates,
Even
we
a
see
new
more
tenant?
turnover.
What?
Even a new tenant?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll send you the ordinance I just haven't got there.
Basically, just go right along with like having your utilities turned on, you're gonna have
Yeah.
this fee of an inspection to go with that.
Right. It's,
And obviously, in looking at that, I mean, there's some statutory requirements on some things. Anything that's professionally managed, anything that's HUD inspected does not qualify. So Garden Court wouldn't qualify in this, they wouldn't have to participate because they're already monitored by HUD. Same thing as Colonial, the apartments there. You also get into what they call that, a rental community.
Right.
You have 5 or more units. So I mean, there are some different things that trailer fall. park wouldn't. They'd have to pay one registration fee and they wouldn't have to pay one for every single unit.
I think this would be a good thing because it could keep the town on top of slumlords,
Well,
things of that nature.
that was part of our discussion also, but the big thing, I want to see if stuff brought back up to the standards, which would be zoning and just all the standards. I don't want to see these apartments just kind of ignored and not taken care of, and I think that's what we've done too long around here.
Well, and one of my things I would want to see, if we're gonna go through all this, and I mean, I've sat out there for a long time and saw this happen, and not necessarily with any specific boards, but they go, big guns are gonna do this, pass their ordinances, do this, and then nothing.
No follow-up.
Yeah.
They don't do anything with it. I mean, I've seen that so many times, and I wanna make sure that if we're gonna go through all this, we're not doing it for no reason. I mean, if it's
Right.
something, once Chuck gets his letter done, obviously, Derek would want to look at that because of the legal requirements and things like that. But
Well, I
I
think-
don't want us to just be adding more ordinances that we're not going to enforce.
And there are right now, and Chuck made that comment earlier, there's 2 separate issues here that he's actually working on. So the downtown building was an issue, but this registration rental thing's kind of a separate, but falls in the same line with all of that. So obviously the downtown building, we already have code that they can't,
Right.
that you can't inhabit a downtown portion for living. So we need to have Derek probably read those and.
What authority do you have under our zoning code or ordinances to be able to just knock on a door and say, I'd like to do an inspection?
Don't from that
Right.
standpoint. That's why we're putting together this ordinance, because then it specifies me, fire chief, or whoever else we would designate, that we can do that with a written notice, 72 hours in advance, and then we can go in and do the inspection.
Now, what we were looking at for downtown, sending letters virtually requesting to inspect them.
Sure, that's
Obviously.
fine, consent's fine, that's
And
always good.
that was right now with that. Now, the ordinance
And that's-
obviously will let you read and see what you think, and,
Yeah, that's what I'm
well,
curious
it probably
to
falls with
see.
utilities. I mean, you get into one of those.
That's where
We're not having to turn them on until we can expect.
right, I'm wondering if it can be
that-
tied to that,
That's what the ordinance, one of the things it's tied to,
yeah,
is
all right, I can see that.
a sale, if the property's sold, if it's new tenant, or if it's utilities related, then that allows us to go in there.
Changing the account.
Yes.
And obviously that longevity, that like that 2 or 3 year time frame that you've had one tenant in there forever, but every 3 years then they can kind of expect
Right.
that inspection.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put it down to 3 years, because there's some long-term tenants, and you would hope as a landlord you'd have those.
I'm closing in on 3 years myself.
Okay.
'Cause
We're gonna have a lot more of the turnover ones in there, the long-term leases.
Right.
I'm assuming.
But those are the ones normally that are the problems.
He's intrigued now, so. You can put that in your thing.
My copy?
You can have that, I can write more.
I've got, what I've been working on, Derek, is, and so you all know, is that ordinance, putting it into our words and for what we need to do.
Right.
So I'm down to halfway through page 7 out of 8 pages. So I should be able to finish that in a day or two and get you a rough copy of it.
And just realize this is something that you're gonna have somebody else after Chuck doesn't wanna do it anymore. Because you can't just make this position and then, so this is a hired or a contracted position, you know, so you have to have somebody that's willing.
We have a full-time
credentials.
police chief. Congrats.
Yeah.
We got through inspection, we can't get him to get rid of a junk vehicle.
Oh.
And more people on that plate.
Just,
As far
I'm not
as
gonna
you're-
say anything.
as far as you're concerned about getting this started and stopping, one thing I did ask him when I was here is, or tell him, that I wanted to see was a timeline. You know, let's don't drag this out for a long time. You know, I said, Chuck, you know, we need to have this letter in so many days, and then so many days to get the letter out. There's only 3 or 4 landlords basically in the downtown building, if I'm not mistaken, there's 4, right?
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So there's not that many, but anyhow, I wanted it done within a reasonable length of time. I don't want it drug out either, because we've let this go way too long. You've been around a long time, you know too, and it's something that's got to be stopped. There's already talk of one of the buildings maybe changing ownerships, and they brought up there's an apartment in the building. What do I do with that? And I said, well, you know, it's got to be removed. So anyhow, hopefully this won't be something that gets, oh wow, let's get this going. And
That was my main concern. I didn't want to
Right.
add a bunch of ordinances
No,
and put a
no.
bunch more stuff on the books that we're going to do nothing with.
Right.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
No.
You know, and by having a yearly registration, that gives them, they have responsibility in it.
Yeah.
And then we have, anytime they change tenants or ownership, then we get to do the
And I'm
inspection.
assuming you can tie that yearly registration to the smoke detector portion in the rentals and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, okay.
Well, we even discussed, you know, these new rules and regulations, so they include now they have to have CO2 detectors also. So you know, we've got enough things that I think we can kind of justify doing this.
And like I said, I'm all for it as long as we, you know, we
Right. Oh,
stick
yeah.
to what we say we're going to do.
so you guys get the first draft early next week,
Mhm.
and then take a look at that. And as far as the other one, we're sending a letter out and just going to go and do the inspection and see what they have.
I also, I think if we do proceed with this and move forward with it, I think it would be a good idea to maybe do this as a public workshop, invite the the landlords to that, and say, this is what we're implementing, and tell them why, this is why we're doing it. So everybody knows, there's no, this is what it is, and this is why we're doing it. Give them the chance to air their grievances and, and whatever.
On the back end of all this too, are you going to have in writing the type of fees, fines, or
Yes, that's-
issues that, okay, that they'll be
That's it.
facing if they don't comply?
Yes,
Yes.
that's already in this draft that we've got.
Okay.
So that's what this is all about. Anybody else, or anything that needs to be said? Okay, moving on, appointment of unsafe board member. Now Lisa's been on our unsafe board council since it started, right?
Second.
Yeah. But if Mark would like to take over, I'm more
Is
than
this
happy
just
to let
for
him.
the town, or is this?
No, this
This is for
connected
the
to
county. So at one time Jeanette had said that she really didn't need, like, since we do our own zoning, she doesn't really need somebody from Argos on there and stuff. She doesn't need somebody from Culver, they do their own, and Bourbon also. But they were gonna keep Bremen, and so I opened my mouth and said, that's not really.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and so, yeah, so if any of you would like to sit on the unsafe board, you are more than willing.
You want to?
I'd do that.
You wanna do that?
I'd do that. If you don't want to do it, I would do that.
You can do it. If they meet at like 9 AM on the 4th Thursday of every month.
Okay, it is. It's an appointment by me.
Yep, it's an appointment by you.
Okay, so, looks like we will appoint Ed Barkus then to be our unsafe board member, as of right now, so.
And, the only reason that I actually said something about staying on there is because they still have some jurisdiction in our 2 mile, and beyond, so,
I think it's important we have a voice.
Yeah.
Especially in something that's close to us.
and Bourbon agreed and Culver agreed, and they all kept their appointments on that board, so this is just something, and I'll give you some of the notes. They only have one thing for cases right now, so. Yeah.
All right. Moving on, other new business. Is there any other new business?
You need a vote.
So that's
Is
his
it an
appointment.
Oh,
It's
I'm
an
sorry,
appointment,
you're right,
right?
I apologize.
So I said the same thing.
I have two things.
No, yeah, I know, but what does it say on the,
Yes.
Oh,
there's a form in there.
Could be an appointment by the council.
Yeah.
certificate of appointment. Certified at appointed to Marshall County dated.
I think it's an appointment by the council.
Council president, secretary,
Just,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay,
You want to read it?
no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just.
That's why we have him.
Just want
We're not getting chickens the next day.
It's not clear. And again, it doesn't say that it's an appointment of the president versus an appointment of the board.
It does.
It does not.
So, that's fine, we'll just leave it at appointment of the president. Congratulations.
You can thank us later.
Yeah. Wait till you see the pictures, those are lovely.
Oh, I've been in, we had one here on First Street for.
Was that first or was that Dewey?
No, on First Street, when we knocked down years ago. Was it Cherry and Grove or Grove?
Grove.
Yeah. I didn't do that one.
That must have been after you.
I was in that house many times, but
Stop, you're gonna.
That was horrible.
You need to fill it, Bob. section out, the middle section, yes, it is.
But you have to go to the clerk, or I can swear you in, since I'm not the appointed one, I can do this,
Okay,
I
we
can
can
be
do that.
the official.
Okay, so anyhow, you got that, all right.
I did have a couple things under new
Go
business.
ahead.
One is, and this is maybe more for Jamie, well, maybe you as well, but, in the EMS building, those two doors on the north end, the overhead doors, are in very poor shape. I mean, I know they just fixed the one, but that first one, the old PD door, I mean, I had troubles with that door years ago, and it's got, the plastic window is broken in it, it's about that far from the top. The two oldest doors do not seal. They are, and they came and they just worked on that one, and they said, well, at the time, they're like, that's as good as it's gonna get. And all they did was put the cable on it so it goes up and down, but at the top and at the side, there's a gap about this big. You can stand there and
Right.
the wind blows in, and the second door is the same way. Those doors have been on there from.
They haven't been drove through yet.
Well, yes.
That's what it takes.
They've knocked the bottom panels off of it, they've done that, but I mean, obviously, I think that we, as the building owners, should replace those two doors.
I agree, 100%. I've been over there too, as president of the fire territory, and Mark, Dean and I walked around and looked at the doors, and of course we said, you know, these they can't heat that bay. Well, they can, but it's hard, and it's also very costly to keep it heated with, you've got air gaps everywhere. So.
And with that being said, that was not them complaining to me
Right.
about it. That was my own observation, and I said, and I stood there for the door, and we were in there here, you know, 3 weeks ago. They had a little fire department thing in there. We were in there, you know, playing cornhole and things, you know, on a Saturday. We had families come down and stuff, and you stood in front of the door, you would freeze. I mean, it was blowing in bad. So that was that's.
So you want quotes on two doors?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the two steel doors are getting replaced.
Yes, I knew that.
The service doors,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I knew that. But those two overhead doors are in very bad shape.
You have $25,000 budgeted for maintenance
Right.
and stuff, so that would come out of that.
There's no citizen here to tell me fix the light.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but the light's on all the time. now.
Well, we
It's
need to
like during the day.
we need to get a contactor for that, is what we need. They're about $350, so I just haven't done that yet.
And also, one other thing in that building that I observed after they moved out, and I don't think they worked when I was in there, but those emergency lights do not work in that building.
Are those the ones that the floodlight thing? Yeah, I've never seen them.
They don't
Where are they at? In front of the
There's one in the
doors?
squad room, the old squad room. There's one in the conference
Like
room.
the exit lights we have here.
Yes, those emergency
Well,
lights do not work.
They probably just need new ones. We had to do that in a couple other
They're
places.
the original lights that were in there, so they've been in 30 years.
How many was there, two?
I know of at least two. I
I'll
don't
just
know.
check
I
So
don't
they
know.
took the ones out.
I think the ones in the bays work.
No,
There's at least a couple that do.
they will fail the 90-minute test.
When you lose power.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, they've got like a battery in there, and when they lose power, they go to battery power.
Well, we found with the new LEDs and stuff, you're better off just replacing them than changing the batteries if they have the old ones, so I'll get them looked at.
Okay.
The only other thing I had was, we had talked about it, and I think Jamie's already aware of it, but I guess you're getting quotes on the utility building expansion to the south, is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. Are we going to need engineering for that?
yes.
Then
And I was gonna bring that up later, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to
No,
steal
no,
your
go
thunder.
ahead.
I was just gonna
'Cause
say.
I can do so much, but then I'm gonna have to get an architect or something. I was thinking Barr, who we've used before, I can get him to draw something up. I'm guessing $5,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you want me to move forward with that, that's my next step.
That being said, I would move that we proceed with the engineer to do the expansion of the south of the building.
I'd second that.
So we have a motion and a second to move with the engineering on the expansion on the south side of the building. This is to relocate the break room and possibly the utility supervisor office, and well, Jamie can tell you what all he's wanting to do with it, but So any further comments on that?
I have, will we get the best value for our money going with that engineer? Or could we find it cheaper?
I don't think
Since it's gonna be
so.
something we bid out, it's just,
Oh, it's something we'll have to bid out, but we have to have the design first, then once we have the design, then we can put out the bid.
okay.
So if all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. I'm done, for now.
Okay, department head reports. Police department.
So you should have a report. I only have a few major things, I guess, but one, we moved in, we've been moved into the new building for, I don't know, 3 weeks maybe? And we've kind of ran into a snap, we have no Wi-Fi. We're having issues with it,
That's that Marcus guy. Some Marcus.
I have no idea.
I've been here all day.
Yeah.
Coming from the guy that told us how good they're doing.
I will say this, though, like, anytime I have a problem, I've called him at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's always awake, so he's always helping.
He says, thanks for calling.
He just
He's happy, he sleeps.
I can talk to them. There's not a hardware problem. It looks like it's a software glitch that we've encountered with the firewall. So we've got all this extra protection in place, and for some reason, the only thing it's not blocking right now is Google. I've got I downloaded the logs. I was here Saturday, and
Yeah, because it happened before you fixed it, I thought.
we fixed it, and then I came here first thing this morning, and then I brought another piece of equipment this afternoon. And I think I've been over there since about 3:30 until I came over here to the meeting. And all I'm doing right now is going through the logs to see what the problem actually is. It's a software glitch of some kind. So I even brought another piece of hardware in to test it, and I copied the configuration over to it, and the same thing happened. So weird problem, but I'll find it. I'll find a solution.
Wait a couple days maybe at most?
Well, I sure hope so.
We have faith for it.
We'd be all ready to, yeah,
I
we'd be able to
mean,
get by.
I have
some of the things, but
I can even set up something, an alternative if we needed to.
like we can't punch in the time clock and stuff like that. That's how we noticed it first.
You could probably
Why can't
set
I-
up hotspots off your phone.
I tried like on my laptop, it wouldn't work.
No, you
morning.
can't set up a hotspot off your laptop, you have to set it up off your phone. So you
Connect-
use your phone, set up a hotspot, and then your laptop will log into that Wi-Fi.
Okay. I'll just show how to
You
do
can
it.
also use your pucks.
I've tried that before and it wouldn't work.
You have
I
to
can
log
help you with
in.
that, too.
Okay.
Yep. He'll show you how to do that.
We went and picked up the charger tonight after, just a while ago before the meeting, and they had the power steering pump. It took them a while to get it in, but they just got it done. We picked it up tonight and it's sitting out here front, so I'll get with Jamie tomorrow and look at the headlight and hopefully set up a timer or whatever. And the last thing I got is that we went through our hiring process. It seems like it's taken it forever. And we got it down to the candidate, and we did the background, the polygraph on him, he passed everything, and police commission offered him a conditional hire. Richard Springer, a reserve, Marshall County, he's been on for a while. The good part about it is, he works, he's been turned loose by the Marshall County, so by himself, he can work the road. And so hopefully, if everything works out, we wouldn't have to do a lot of training, and he could go work before he goes to the academy, is what I'm hoping, if it works out. But that's all I have.
Utilities.
Not much going on. We just kind of maintenance, taking care of some of that stuff. But I gave you all a drawing earlier of the new PD building, and that's kind of what we're looking at for concrete around that building. The parking lot area where the officers will park and anybody that needs to come to the PD for anything. That shows 39 feet there. I'm gonna have them adjust that to 24. I think that'll give us plenty of room. And then we can get the alley straightened out off of that too. And that's something we've been talking about. I know Chris Van Dyne's wanted us to move that alley out from behind his parking, so that this will take care of both of those things. The quote I got on this was 22,000, so I'm guessing when we take that 15 feet off, that'll drop that several $1,000s, so just want to let you know where we're at with that.
Did you have any comparables like for asphalt? I mean, or did you even do asphalt?
I didn't, because I think with that, let's just keep it concrete. We'll asphalt like the alleyway, and we're probably gonna have to do down here too, but I thought when we get our paving quotes for this year, whoever gets that, I'll get quotes from them while they're here, and that we probably won't be able to get anything cheaper than that. So I doubt they'll get to this before spring anyway. We'll let that settle. So when I get the next quote, I'll let you know. I just want to, if you have any changes or if you guys look at that and see anything different, let me know. That's kind of what we're thinking right now. And then the other thing I have, I've been looking for quotes for a pickup truck for the water department. I don't know if some of you were on the board. 2018, the electric department bought a replacement truck for us. And then we moved the electric truck we had to the water department, and we were looking to buy some time. Well, that truck's about wore out now, so I mean it'll still run for a while, but I've been getting quotes. Last time I got a truck, it was almost a year to get a pickup truck, so, and I'm running into the same problem right now. I got one quote. I called around to a couple Ford dealers and a couple Dodge dealers, and they're telling me I can't get fleet vehicles right now, and they don't know when I'll be able to. Again, they had it open for about a month, and now it's closed, so I don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. But Oliver Ford did give me a quote, and the quote they gave me was originally $53,635, and for us with our fleet discount it'd be $44,355, and that's a cab and chassis. We'd have to put a body on it, but I'm guessing around $15,000 for a body, so.
Is that a standard cab? Or is it a quad or extended?
No, it's standard. It would be like a LX. It's got cruise and power windows and all that, but it's.
Be an XL instead of an XLT then.
Yeah, but he's telling me they can still order the Super Duties on the fleet, but everything, it sounds, I don't know what's going on. Ed, you worked in the car, you may have more idea than I do, but.
What you told me is I was kind of shocked that you couldn't still order either a Dodge or a Chevy, because normally they shut those off sometime around late March, usually, but it seems very early for them to shut those off now. But again, the whole car business with the chip thing and everything is totally changed.
So, I don't know, I could get more quotes, or he's telling me we should probably, if we want to do this, we should move on it because it could close any day. So, I don't know.
Do you have it is in your budget, is budgeted?
Yeah, I mean, this was the year we were going to upgrade that truck in our budget and stuff. It'll be a little tight this year, but I think we'll be all right. We got a couple other projects we're doing, but.
What did you think they would get it?
But
Question.
He couldn't tell me.
So this may not even come in until after this time next year, you don't know.
I mean, if it did come in this year, we'd still be all right.
Yeah.
But I mean, our funds would be down a little bit, but we'd still be all right.
And that's one.
I move to go ahead and allow to purchase the truck.
From water.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
So we do have a motion and a second to allow Jamie to go ahead and purchase a new truck for the water department. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go, buddy. Go ahead.
Good. That's really all I have. Randy and I have talked about the ambulance. We had some ideas with that, but that ambulance it's probably good to just let that go.
Right. And we can't even take that in to get the body taken off to February, so we'll worry about trying to sell it or get rid of it somehow in the marketplace or something like that.
Yeah.
Leave it over there.
Economic Director.
You got my report?
Yes.
Not yet. That's what some of you want.
So, have you been out there, have they finished putting the roof on the building trade house yet?
I wasn't out there, I've been out there since Monday. They had all the front, they were on the back, so.
I was out there today and it's not done yet.
Okay.
It's still not done. We have that problem, and then also, Chuck, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a problem with the stairs going down into the basement.
Absolutely. There's a problem with the stair treads. There's 3 inches difference from the shortest one to the tallest one, and they just like this going down and hit the landing, and it's a big step, and you get down to the bottom, it's a small step, and it's just really ugly. And then the overhead, you have to have 80 inches, and they're way, way under that. I'm not the building inspector, so I didn't say anything to him out there, but when I got back, I sent an email to the Marshall County Building Inspector, and he had been out there and he hadn't checked those things that I had brought up, so he was gonna go back out and get that straightened out.
And that stair, I'm about 5'8", 5'8.5", and I would hit my head going down those stairs.
Is the building trades, the teacher is not a licensed contractor running that?
He is.
Yeah. Where's he at? What's he doing?
Have you been around town long?
No.
Okay, well, if you know who he is, you know where he came from and what he did. And
James?
Part of I asked because I myself took building trades when I was in school. And
well, I know you would expect to have someone who is on top of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
From what I saw, some people have trouble managing people and managing jobs, and
So anyhow, all right.
that's all the farther I'm gonna go.
Okay. So as,
But yes, we're on top of it.
right,
We're already talked about going out there more than we had,
well, good.
so.
Really appreciate that. Plan director.
I think I gave you most of it earlier
You did.
with what we're working on, so.
Okay, so let's move on to claims.
Well, could we move to accept the department heads?
Move, okay. Go ahead.
Department head reports? I make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept department head reports. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Department head reports accepted. Claims, January 4th to January 16th.
Yep, your claims are $379,708.21. Hey, I kept
It
it
just
low.
keeps going down.
I kept it low
You're
just
doing
for
great.
you.
You're doing great.
I know.
I move to accept the claims from January 4th of 2023 to January 16th of 2023.
We have a motion and a second to accept claims from January 4th, 2023 to January 16th, 2023. Any further comments on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.